Victims of Hurricane Andrew say they still are not receiving federal emergency relief checks. And the presidential race is on at full throttle as politics takes no holiday. This is the CBS Evening News. Good evening, I'm Connie Chung. It's been 2 weeks since Hurricane Andrew hit South Florida, and victims there tonight say they still have not received emergency financial help from the government. The agency in charge says the checks are in the mail. Doug Tennell has more on that and the hundreds of homeless who finally are moving into tent cities tonight.
Families left homeless by the hurricane flooded into the military's tent cities today. 800 new arrivals reached this camp in Homestead, more than doubling its population in a single day.
Just stand around in this circle, please. I've got to give you a number so you can stand in line.
Many were relocated from emergency shelters in schools, where local authorities are trying to prepare buildings for the opening of the school year. Others came from homes found unfit by building inspectors. A handful joined soldiers this morning for the first church service in their new home.
We continue to lift up the people of Homestead, Florida City, and all areas that have been affected.
The military has scored big points for its massive and growing response to the disaster. Not so for all federal aid programs. Victims who applied for emergency cash grants from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, complained of being put on hold. After Terry Thompson was forced out of his rented apartment by the storm, he tried to apply for a FEMA grant last week.
They gave me an appointment for a little bit better than 3 weeks from then.
You think you're going to get a government check?
I've had my doubts.
FEMA officials say they mailed $1 million worth of checks to nearly 500 families yesterday, and they say they paid out over $3 million to date. But homeowners in the hardest hit neighborhoods say they began receiving big checks from private insurers days earlier. One prominent member of FEMA's board, Marilyn Quayle, argued today that there are good reasons for FEMA's red tape.
In the case of an insurance company, they've already seen the property before they'll insure it. They know it exists. We have to check to make sure that there isn't fraud involved, or we'll be called to account for that.
It's a tricky business, especially in an election year. Relief agencies that distribute large amounts of cash risk two kinds of scandals. One is that the money doesn't get to people fast enough. The other is that it goes to people who don't really need it. Doug Tennell, CBS News, Homestead, Florida.
Hurricane Andrew caused an estimated $20 billion in damage in South Florida alone and left 250,000 in Florida homeless. As Juan Vasquez reports, the storm hit rich and poor. It did not discriminate.
Traditionally, the most desirable place to live in South Florida has been alongside Biscayne Bay, with homes that face the water. In a hurricane, that means they face danger.
Most of my son's furniture I found a couple of doors down from us.
Eric Schwartz knew that when he moved here, but he took a chance. Many of the homes on the water found themselves briefly underwater from the storm surge. The homes in some of these bayfront neighborhoods may have been well built, but affluence is no protection against the power of raging hurricanes.
They don't know race, creed, color, whether you're poor or rich or whatever.
They'll just come and get you.
They just come and get you.
Most of the attention has gone to victims in Homestead and other areas flattened by the storm, but it didn't discriminate. Hurricane Andrew devastated homes and lives of the rich, the poor, and those in between. All up and down the coast, in neighborhoods with expensive-sounding names like Gables by the Sea and Cocoa Plum, the damage from the hurricane was extensive. Entire roofs were ripped off. Private golf courses next to exclusive developments were torn apart and left unusable. Some of those who lived here lost everything, or almost everything.
The irreplaceable books and some of the artwork is gone, but there are other books and there are other pieces of art that one can collect, so people are more important, and the animals.
For many, having a home by the water is pointless without owning a boat. Now they own neither. The storm tossed boats around the bay like toys in a bathtub, but the hurricane was so terrifying that those who escaped with their lives aren't complaining.
When you live through it, as we did, going through it and found ourselves in a closet with a mattress on top of us, at that point just praying that we stayed alive, it did seem very insignificant what else was going on around us.
Experts say they still cannot calculate marine damages, but the owners will rebuild here and buy new boats. In a hurricane, those who can afford to will pay the price. Juan Vasquez, CBS News, Miami.
A band of heavy storms rolled across Oklahoma and Kansas last night, with tornadoes reported in some areas. Twisters were spotted in western Oklahoma and in Wichita, Kansas, where they did millions of dollars in damage. Norman, Oklahoma also saw heavy damage from the storms. Still ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, President Bush and Bill Clinton spend the holiday weekend laboring for votes. And can the heroine of a Mexican soap opera find fame and fortune in Russia? Stay tuned.
Introducing new Kellogg's low-fat granola. Lots of delicious whole grains, almonds, and raisins, but only half the fat of leading granolas. New Kellogg's low-fat granola. Great taste, half the fat.
If you want the granola that's low in fat, naturally you'd choose this one, new Kellogg's low-fat granola. But if you want the one that was overwhelmingly preferred in taste tests, you'd still pick this one.
Kellogg's low-fat granola. Better taste, half the fat.
The father of the sculptor was a steel worker. The mother of the writer can't read English. The man who owns the restaurant used to wash the dishes there. And the son of a farmer now turns corn into fuel. As long as Americans believe there's nothing they can't do, we'll keep helping them do it. Banking on America. Bank of America.
With its drivers and passenger side airbags and automatic seatbelt tensioners, the Acura Legend is more than a luxurious choice. It's also a rather safe one.
Labor Day is usually when the presidential campaign shifts into high gear, but this one has been going full tilt for several weeks now. Today, President Bush rallied voters in 2 key states. Randall Pinkston is traveling with the president.
With a friendly crowd as an audience, President Bush managed to get the ball across the plate in Louisville, Kentucky, but his campaign concedes the bluegrass state is still a toss-up, with the president trailing Bill Clinton in the polls.
Georgia Bush i jego małżonkę panią Barbarę Bush.
From Kentucky, Mr. Bush moved on to the battleground of Illinois and thousands of more friendly voters at a Polish-American festival outside Chicago. It gave the president a chance to stress his extensive foreign policy experience over that of Bill Clinton's.
These critics, the Clinton-Gore ticket, say that I spend too much time on foreign policy. They ought to go abroad. Let them go to Poland. Let them look into the eyes of the Polish people who thank America every single day for their freedom.
Again, the president criticized the 38 years of Democratic control of the House of Representatives, with an unusual mention of family dog Millie to drive the point home.
38 years. Ask Millie, our dog, and she'll tell you that's 266 years in a dog's life. Change the Congress. Change the Congress. Clean the House.
After another week of dismal economic news, Mr. Bush continued his strategy of focusing public attention away from his administration's record, instead painting Clinton's proposals as unworkable.
And so while we're eating a little kielbasa, he's offering pie in the sky. Who does he think he's kidding?
But Democrats are challenging the president's ability to get the nation out of an economic rut. Clinton's running mate, Senator Al Gore, accused the president of dodging debates.
They do not want to have to defend the worst economic performance since the Great Depression.
The verbal warfare heats up with the traditional Labor Day campaign kickoff. For Mr. Bush, a walk across the Mackinac Bridge in Michigan, another crucial industrial battleground state. Randall Pinkston, CBS News, Chicago.
Bill Clinton headed straight into hostile territory today. He was campaigning in South Carolina, looking for signs of discontent in a traditionally Republican stronghold. Bill Plant has that story.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
South Carolina, with only 8 electoral votes, went almost 2-1 for President Bush in 1988. So it looks, on the face of it, like a waste of time for the Democrats. But it's part of the Clinton campaign's aggressive offense.
If there's one state in the South that would have to be put in the Bush column, it would be South Carolina. And I think Clinton is telling Bush with this appearance today, I'm going to fight you every step of the way. I'm not conceding anything.
Clinton is also trying to meet Republican questions about his character head on. He has just 8 weeks to change the minds of people like this South Carolina voter.
He's not come through as a leader who you can trust.
Gino Schmidt came to the U.S. in 1957 from Hungary, and he has always voted Republican. But he and his 2 sons were laid off from this textile mill a couple of years ago.
Right now I cannot find a job. It's very, very hard for me. Knitting business and apparel business, they already hurt very much, and it's going to be hurt more.
So in times this tough, George Bush can't count on Gino Schmidt's vote either. But the president will do his best to keep Gino from voting for Bill Clinton by continuing to raise doubts. And Clinton, for his part, is going to try very hard to make the economy the centerpiece of this election campaign. And at the same time, he'll work to make voters comfortable with him. That's the trust issue again. Clinton has to convince people that he's not just another tax and spend Democrat, that he's got enough character for the job. So this campaign is already intense, and it's probably going to get downright mean. Connie?
Thanks, Bill. We'll be back to talk politics with veteran observers Bob Beckel and Fred Barnes when the CBS Evening News continues.
Some home equity lenders tease you with low introductory rates. Not the Money Store. Right now, we're offering qualified homeowners fixed-rate home equity loans as low as 7.5%. That means after 90 days, your low rate would be 7.5%. And after 2 years, just 7.5%. At the Money Store, we guarantee your low fixed rate will never go up. Apply right now. 1-800-LOAN-YES. The Money Store, where America goes for money.
To me, toothpaste was just a habit, and I bought whatever was on sale. When we were on vacation, I tried the Arm & Hammer Dental Care toothpaste, and I thought it was dynamite. Such a clean, healthy feeling, like the dentist just cleaned my teeth. And then I read that more dentists recommend Arm & Hammer than any other baking soda toothpaste. When I come out of the dentist office, my teeth feel as perfect as they're going to be. And that's the feeling I get every time I brush. And that's a wonderful feeling.
Get Arm & Hammer Dental Care for that healthy, fresh from the dentist feeling of clean.
With the help of Hooked on Phonics, people all across the country have learned to read.
I'm always raving about Hooked on Phonics because it works.
Hooked on Phonics has made the greatest difference in my life.
His report card this semester was the best.
It feels good.
Yes. I would recommend Hooked on Phonics for any age level, any nationality, anybody.
Call 1-800-ABCDEFG.
It works. That's the bottom line.
Say the secret word and Bill Cosby forks over cash? You bet your life. Go behind the scenes with Mark McEwen and Paula Zahn this week on CBS This Morning.
Joining us now from Washington to analyze the campaign for CBS News, Bob Beckel, Democratic strategist, and Fred Barnes, political commentator and senior editor of The New Republic. Fred, President Bush was doling out gifts to voters all week in key states. And yet it was a bad week for him in terms of economic news. Was he helping himself out with all this pork barreling?
Well, he helped himself out in the states where he did it. He helped himself out in Fort Worth because some aerospace workers are going to stay on the job. But, you know, the rest of us around the nation also hear what he's doing, not just the people in Fort Worth. And it hurts him around the nation because it undercuts what he's trying to say. He says, I'm the guy who's going to cut spending. It's the other guys who are the pork barrel people. So I don't think it helped him.
But, Bob, don't you think it can help him a little bit? I mean, as Fred said, certainly in those states.
Well, I think, first of all, Connie, I'm glad Rudolph and the rest of the reindeers got the day off today. He didn't give anything away. But in places like Florida, yeah, sure it will, and Texas. But listen, what's different about this for George Bush? Look at where he's been. He's been in Texas. He's been in North Carolina. This is Labor Day. Those are normally safe bastions for a Republican president, particularly an incumbent.
But he can't depend on Texas and Florida, and so this will help him.
Oh, no, but they could depend on Texas and Florida all through the 80s, and that's the difference.
But not now, not this year.
No, that's right, but the point is, I used to be a campaign manager. Scheduling from Labor Day on is the most important thing you do. The fact they've got to send George Bush into what have normally been Republican states and concentrate their time there means they can't be in battleground states. And that's the most significant aspect of Labor Day campaign 1992.
And that's why Bill Clinton went to South Carolina. You can bet that George Bush now will make a trip to South Carolina, a state that ordinarily he'd say is mine automatically.
That's why Clinton went, so that he could drag him right into South Carolina?
And keep him out of Michigan, Illinois, and Ohio.
Do you think so too, Bob?
Oh, sure. I mean, if you take the combined, between the Mondale and the Dukakis campaign, I think maybe the combined, they spent 2 days in South Carolina, the entire campaign. And so the fact that Bill Clinton is there the day before Labor Day tells you everything you need to know. He may not be able to win South Carolina, probably cannot, but he forces George Bush to go defend territory that heretofore he wouldn't have to defend, which means he can't be in Michigan, he can't be in Pennsylvania, he can't be in places where he's got to win. And the other thing, Connie, the important thing is they've now got to look at an electoral map that probably does not include California, which has been with the Republicans except for one time for years. And so it's a whole new ballgame for the Republicans. They don't know where to go.
What about Clinton and the draft dodging issue? Because today in South Carolina, they were dogging him.
Well, I think the only way George Bush, frankly, can win this thing now is they really do have to raise, as Bill Plant said before, the character issue on Clinton. They've tried to make Hillary into Jane Fonda. That hasn't worked. The marijuana thing doesn't work. The only thing they've really got is a draft issue, and I think you're going to see that thing being raised over and over again. I don't think it'll take hold on the issue that he didn't serve, but rather where there's a lot of different questions. But that's all they've got right now.
He hasn't been answering all of the questions and coming forth with all the information until he grudgingly does. Is that what you mean?
And his stories have been different as well. But there's another issue. Bush has 2 issues which I think over the next 8 weeks we're going to see him use aggressively against Clinton. 2 negative issues. One is the draft, because the way Bill Clinton approached the military was so different from the way George Bush did back in World War II. And secondly, Clinton's Arkansas record, about which we've heard very little. We're going to hear as much about it as we did about Dukakis' Massachusetts record in 1988.
And very quickly, gentlemen, what do you make of this question of the debate and why President Bush won't accept the proposal?
Well, Bush wants a debate on his own terms. He's going to have Jim Baker negotiate it. He doesn't want 3 debates. He probably just wants 2, and he wants them at the time when he'd like to have them. And this will be negotiated. George Bush will debate, however.
Bob Beckel, does this make President Bush look bad that he's not accepting a bipartisan panel's proposal?
Oh, sure, he's ducking and dodging. I've negotiated with Baker in '84. He had all the cards. Now they don't have all the cards. I agree with Fred. The irony of this is George Bush doesn't want to debate, but he's got to debate. If he doesn't debate, he's not going to beat Bill Clinton. If he debates Bill Clinton gets on the same stage with him. So the debates are critical. If Clinton can get just through the debates, he then gets himself presidential stature, and George Bush is scared to death of that.
All right, and they will both debate eventually. It's just the haggling in the meantime.
Yeah, they'll have at least 2 and maybe even 3, I think.
And a vice presidential debate. We always go through this hassling, but we have debates.
All right, and the vice presidential debate, actually, won't the expectations be quite low in terms of Vice President Quayle, and that whatever he does will be impressive?
Quayle is in a very good position. Expectations are low, and also some of the rapping is starting to come off Al Gore, because his record of environmental, some people would call it extremism, has now begun to draw darts.
All right.
Yep.
Gentlemen, thank you for being with us. We'll see you on CBS this morning and throughout this campaign.
Thanks, Connie.
We'll be back with more news in a moment.
Did you ever try to get something as simple as help on an airline? At Alaska Airlines, you'll find getting help is quite simple. More often than not, you won't even need to ask for it. The world's first dynamo was invented by Werner Siemens in 1866. It began the revolution that brought electricity to everyone. That was then. This is now. The generation, distribution, and control of energy are at the heart of Siemens today, where you work, live, and play. And with 35,000 people at work nationwide, Siemens is leading the way into the next century. Siemens, precision thinking.
Basically, I thought all toothpaste were the same. But then on a visit to my grandmother's, I tried her Arm & Hammer dental care. And wow, it was a special feeling, like a burst of clean. My mouth felt so clean and so healthy that it was just like leaving the dentist office. Then I heard that more dentists recommend Arm & Hammer than any other baking soda toothpaste. I see my dentist really often, but now I get that fresh from the dentist feeling every single time I brush.
Get Arm & Hammer Dental Care for that healthy, fresh from the dentist feeling of clean.
The head of the UN arms inspection team in Baghdad said today Iraq still refuses to turn over information on its foreign nuclear suppliers. He praised Iraqi cooperation in other areas, but called the refusal to discuss suppliers a stumbling block. 21 people were killed in Germany when their tour bus collided with a car and crashed 125 miles south of Frankfurt. 32 others were hurt. The bus was taking elderly German tourists to the Black Forest. Shelling of Sarajevo and its Muslim and Croatian defenders resumed tonight after a period of relative calm. Muslims are Bosnia's largest ethnic group, and the Islamic world may intervene militarily to defend them from Serbian attackers. Bill McLaughlin reports.
Sarajevo's agony worsened today. Incessant shelling knocked out electricity in the Bosnian capital and choked off the supply of running water. The airport is still closed because of last week's downing of an Italian relief plane, and even the supplies that made it into Sarajevo aren't safe. Direct mortar hits destroyed a load of blankets provided by the West. Daily television reports of the unending suffering of Bosnia's Muslims and Catholic Croats have provoked anger and frustration in the West. But these same scenes are touching sensitive nerves throughout the Islamic world. The fighting in Bosnia is being depicted in the Middle East as a genocide of innocent Muslims committed by Serbian Christians. Evidence of persecution of Muslims, especially in the detention camps, reinforces that image. The Serbs are also said to be tightening their grip on Kosovo, a province Serbs claim, but which is 90% Albanian Muslim. If ethnic cleansing starts there, Arabs and other Muslims may start to do more than make donations.
The great danger for Yugoslavia, for Europe and the world, is that the Islamic powers will in fact provide arms, perhaps even provide men, if the fighting continues, especially if the Bosnian Muslims are defeated, because next in line will be the Kosovo Muslims.
Already there are reports that several hundred volunteers from the Middle East, some of them veterans of the Afghan War, are now fighting in Bosnia. The threat is that repeated scenes of destroyed mosques, of Muslim funerals amidst the chaos of battle, will help turn a civil war into a holy war. Bill McLaughlin, CBS News, London.
In their chess match in Montenegro, one of Yugoslavia's remaining two republics, Boris Spassky beat Bobby Fischer today for the first time. The match is tied at one game apiece with two draws. The first of 50 UN observers are expected to arrive in South Africa this week to help prevent violence in black townships, where more than 6,000 people have been killed in 2 years. Mike Sullivan has more.
United Nations monitors are being dispatched to help stop South Africa's rampaging nationwide violence. Until the violence is controlled, there is little likelihood of restarting stalled democracy talks derailed earlier this year after the massacre of 43 blacks in Boipatong Township. Observers will monitor protest marches, demonstrations, and strikes in an effort to keep warring sides apart. The groundwork for the observer mission was laid by Special Envoy Cyrus Vance, who met with political leaders and visited some of the black townships devastated by the ongoing fighting.
It emphasizes ever more strongly the need for doing something, and something real and productive.
The government, ANC, and other parties have welcomed the UN move to send in observers, but President F.W. de Klerk says he will not allow any interference in running the country. The UN team will find itself in the middle of not only a war of words, but also of a conflict claiming new victims daily. Mike Sullivan for CBS News, Johannesburg.
The Greek government has declared a state of emergency to fight forest fires raging out of control north of Athens. Fanned by high winds, the fire has consumed thousands of acres of pine forest along a 12-mile front. The main Athens highway to the north has been closed.
In the world of luxury automobiles,
you expect aerodynamic styling. A beautifully crafted, leather-trimmed interior, the uncompromising safety of driver's and passenger side airbags, and the superior performance of a 24-valve engine. You just don't expect it to be so affordable. The Acura Luxury Lease Program. It's more than a lease. It's a legend.
The father of the sculptor was a steel worker. The mother of the writer can't read English. The man who owns the restaurant used to wash the dishes there. And the son of a farmer now turns corn into fuel. As long as Americans believe there's nothing they can't do, we'll keep helping them do it. Banking on America. Bank of America.
People love the old type of granola, but didn't know it was loaded with fat. Introducing new Kellogg's low-fat granola. Lots of delicious whole grains, almonds, and raisins, but only half the fat of leading granolas. New Kellogg's low-fat granola. Great taste, half the fat.
If you want the granola that's low in fat, naturally you'd choose this one, new Kellogg's low-fat granola. But if you want the one that was overwhelmingly preferred in taste tests, you'd still pick this one.
Kellogg's low-fat granola. Better taste, half the fat.
If they had television ratings in Russia, the same show would be #1 every night, or should we say numero uno. Jonathan Sanders explains.
She's getting a royal welcome because she's the most popular woman here since Catherine the Great. Veronica Castro is the star of The Rich Cry 2, a mawkish soap opera made in Mexico and broadcast throughout Russia. She plays Mariana in a sentimental rags-to-riches story in 249 parts that has found a loving home here.
I like Mariana, first of all.
Why?
Because she's very beautiful and kind.
More than 100 million people tune into this love story each night. The Korotkov family, and many like it, say they are totally wrapped up in the characters, especially Mariana. I suffer with her. My God, she is so unhappy. How can she endure, Babushka asks. In this family, the women really identify with the rich, as they call the soap. The show is a mirror of our lives, Ludmila says. The suffering and endurance seems so familiar. A logical reaction, say trend spotters.
They've had enough doom and gloom, and they see that as their past. They've never had anything schmaltzy and fun. I mean, this is different. This is fun. This is Western, and Western right now is very hot.
The show has become an emotional lifeline for many elderly viewers. They besiege the TV center with phone calls saying, "I'm old. Please tell me how it ends so I can die in peace. Does Mariana find happiness?" Russians, young and old, are glued to their TV sets, worrying about that very question. In case you're wondering, too, we found out. Mariana falls in love and lives happily ever after. And in a country that needs happy endings, that's good news. Jonathan Sanders, CBS News, Moscow.
Oh, thank goodness. And that's our news. Join Bill Plant later tonight on the CBS Sunday Night News. I'm Connie Chung in New York. I'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you for joining us and for all of us at CBS News. Good night.
Experience CBS News.
Who says you have to be unemployed? Maybe all that stands between you and a great job is an airline ticket and a yen for sushi. Eye on America on the CBS Evening News tomorrow. This is CBS.